My name is Susan Aldrich, and I never imagined that this chapter of my life would begin with such quiet humiliation. It happened on the evening of my son Andrew's celebration. The house was filled with guests, laughter, and music. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But inside that perfect moment, I found myself standing in my own kitchen, holding the remains of a broken plate while dozens of people watched me like I didn't belong there. The evening had started like any other gathering. Andrew had recently achieved something important in his career, and his wife Vanessa insisted on hosting a grand dinner to honor him. She invited neighbors, colleagues, and friends, filling every corner of the house with energy and noise. Vanessa moved through the crowd like she owned the moment. She wore a graceful smile, accepting compliments for the food and the beautifully arranged home. But what no one saw was the truth behind it all. I had spent days preparing every dish, cleaning every surface, and making sure everything was flawless. My hands ached, but I said nothing. When I stepped out of the kitchen carrying a plate, Vanessa's voice cut sharply through the room. She asked me what I was doing there, loud enough for everyone to hear. I tried to answer quietly, but she didn't allow it. She reminded me, in front of everyone, that my place was not among the guests. Before I could react, she knocked the plate from my hands. It shattered across the floor, food scattering everywhere. Then she told me to clean it up, as if I were nothing more than hired help. I knelt down, gathering the broken pieces while the room slowly returned to its cheerful noise. No one stepped in. No one spoke. And in that moment, something inside me changed. For years, I had tolerated her cold behavior. I told myself it was for Andrew's sake. I believed that staying quiet would keep the peace. But silence had only allowed her cruelty to grow stronger. That night, I realized my silence was not protecting my family. It was protecting her. As I picked up the last shard of glass, I made a decision. I would not remain invisible any longer. The envelope I had once prepared as a kind gesture would now serve a very different purpose. And this time, it would not carry money. It would carry the truth. After my husband passed away, I believed moving into Andrew's home was the right choice. He wanted me close, and I wanted to support him in any way I could. At first, I thought it would only be temporary. But as time passed, I found myself slowly fading into the background of a house that no longer felt like mine. Vanessa had a way of making me disappear without ever saying it directly. When guests praised the meals, she accepted their compliments as if she had prepared everything herself. When the house looked perfect, she took credit with effortless charm. My work remained unseen. Andrew, busy with his responsibilities, never noticed the small details. He didn't see the look she gave me or hear the tone she used when no one else was around. To him, she was a caring partner who had welcomed his mother into their home. I stayed quiet because I thought that was what a good mother did. But everything changed one afternoon. I was returning from the store when I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. Outside a hotel, I noticed Vanessa stepping out of a sleek car. She wasn't alone. Standing beside her was Michael, Andrew's closest friend. The same man who visited our home often, who shared meals with us, who laughed with Andrew like a brother. They stood close together, far too close. Then they embraced in a way that left no room for doubt. I felt the ground shift beneath me. That night, I said nothing. I watched as Andrew and Michael sat together, unaware of what I had seen. Vanessa moved between them with ease, hiding the truth behind a flawless performance. But I began to notice more after that. Patterns that had once seemed harmless now felt suspicious. Frequent outings, quiet messages, unexplained absences. I started writing everything down. Small details, dates, moments that didn't add up. I even gathered what little evidence I could. But deep down, I knew it wasn't enough. If I confronted them without proof, I would be dismissed. Labeled as bitter or confused. I needed something undeniable. So I made a decision I never thought I would make. I reached out for professional help. Because the truth I had seen was too serious to ignore. And I was no longer willing to stay silent. The investigator listened carefully as I explained everything I had seen. He studied the small pieces of evidence I had gathered and told me something that sent a chill through me. There was more to this than I realized. Over the following days, he worked quietly, uncovering details I could never have found on my own. When he finally returned, he brought a file filled with undeniable proof. Photographs, records, documents. Vanessa and Michael meeting in secret. Money moving in ways that made no sense. And something even more shocking. Vanessa wasn't who she claimed to be. She had a different past, a different identity, and connections that revealed a pattern of deception far beyond what I had imagined. My son wasn't just being betrayed emotionally. He was being used. I left that meeting with the truth in my hands and a heavy heart. 4 days, I sat in my room, staring at the envelope I had once prepared as a gift. Originally, it contained money I had saved over time. I thought giving it to Vanessa might finally build a bridge between us. Now, that idea felt foolish. Instead, I replaced the contents with something far more powerful. Clear evidence. Photographs that couldn't be denied. Documents that exposed everything. I kept the envelope hidden, waiting for the right moment. That moment came during Andrew's celebration dinner. The house was filled with important guests, laughter, and admiration. Vanessa stood at the center of it all, glowing with confidence as she raised a glass to toast her husband. She spoke beautifully, painting a picture of a perfect life. And that was when I stepped forward. The room fell silent as I interrupted. I handed her the envelope calmly and told her it was a gift. She opened it slowly. The change in her expression was immediate. Color drained from her face. Her composure cracked. Around the table, guests began to realize something was wrong. Andrew demanded answers as more documents slipped into view. The truth unfolded in front of everyone. There was no denying it. No explaining it away. In a single moment, the life she had carefully built began to collapse. After that night, everything changed. The house that once felt tense and heavy became quiet. Not the uncomfortable silence I had grown used to, but something calmer. Something honest. Andrew was devastated, but he faced the truth with strength. He took the necessary steps to protect himself and began rebuilding his life piece by piece. The person he trusted most had deceived him, but he refused to let that define his future. As for me, I finally allowed myself to step out of the shadows. I no longer felt like a guest in my own life. I began focusing on things I had put aside for years. Small joys, simple moments, and the freedom to exist without fear of being dismissed. Andrew and I grew closer through it all. We spoke openly, honestly, without the barriers that had once existed. He understood what I had endured, and more importantly, he understood why I had acted when I did. Time passed, and slowly, the wounds began to heal. Our home felt different now. Lighter. Real. Looking back, I realized something important. Silence is not always weakness. Sometimes, it is patience waiting for the right moment. And when that moment comes, the truth has the power to change everything. If there is one thing I would say to anyone listening, it is this. Never ignore what feels wrong. Never let yourself become invisible in your own story. Because your voice, when used at the right time, can protect not only you, but the people you love.